I think we all accept that generosity is a good thing. Thinking about how we can help others, put others first. However, because of the emotional baggage we carry with our work, we often forget to do this and embrace it in the way we work. I want to offer some frameworks for thinking about gifting, how we can think about being generous, and offer some stories and show how this can actually turn into ways that help you and help you have a stronger foundation for sustaining your journey through your connections and relationships. I wanted to share a short story first and then ask you to reflect on if you've had similar experiences. So I was visiting Pai, Thailand, in northwest Thailand with my girlfriend, and we visited this small farm. It said we're open for gifts if you want to leave one, and we left a small donation. And all of a sudden, this food over here showed up in front of us, and we were kind of blown away. We didn't expect that, and it seemed like a gift that was way beyond what we offered in terms of a gift. I ended up leaving another gift, and they gave us even more things to take away from the farm. It was kind of a raising the stakes of gift for gift, but we were left with this enormous sense of gratitude. And I think many of us have had this experience, and I just want us to reflect on an experience we've had before we move forward in the module. So maybe just hit pause and reflect on a time you've experienced a gift or received a gift or just gotten something you didn't expect. And how did that make you feel? Maybe reflect on that and just write down some of the things that come up for you emotionally. Now that you've reflected on an experience you've had, let's get to some science. So this is from Give and Take, a very popular book from Adam Grant, where he talks about givers, takers, and matchers. Takers are people that tend to take more favors than they give. Matchers are people that tend to do it in equal amounts. And givers are people that tend to give more than they take. However, there were some interesting findings from his research. What he found was that it wasn't as straightforward as the givers were more successful or the takers were less successful. There was a scale of success, and when he looked at the people that were able to achieve the most and succeed the most, he found something surprising. He found that the people that were selflessly giving, almost giving too much of themselves, they were the ones that struggled the most with success. He then found that takers and matchers were the next most successful. But what he found was that what he called otherish givers, these are people that both give generously, but also took into account their own needs and didn't compromise on those. They were the most successful. Adam Grant says these otherish givers may appear less altruistic than selfless givers, but their resilience against burnout enables them to contribute more. So there's a limit to generosity, right? Especially with your work. You don't want to be giving too much that you're resenting it or you're absolutely burning out because you're not getting anything back or you're compromising your own needs. Since I'm a former consultant, I like to think about these things in terms of a 4-box matrix. So if we think about the selfless givers, they're down here, right? They show low self-interest for themselves and high concern for others. The sweet spot, however, is moving up here. You want to think about how you can give, but without compromising on what's going to keep you driven to keep doing the work you're doing and not burn out at the same time. Barbara Oakley talked about the limits to giving, and she wrote a book called Pathological Altruism and profiled many different instances of people giving too much. I don't want to go too deep on this, but if you feel like you are giving too much or you're being taken advantage of, it might be worth exploring this topic a little further. I'll link up to some sources below. But it's really an unhealthy focus on others at the detriment of your own needs. And it happens in a lot of circumstances. She talked about this happening a lot in the healthcare profession in her book, but definitely just something to be aware of. Back to Adam Grant. In his book Give and Take, he offers some tips on effective ways of giving. A lot of times we're held back by thinking that we need to give in a grand way, grand gestures, or just we're stressed that it's going to be too big of a commitment. He says do more 5-minute favors. What can you do in 5 minutes instead of thinking about a couple hours of time? Ask people, what can I help you with? Tap into your network, especially weaker connections. Are there people you could connect that might benefit from knowing each other? Finally, I love this one. Think about where the people you're working with, interacting with, where are they headed? What help might they need along the way? Who might they need to meet? How can you help make those connections happen? The internet enables giving in a way we've never seen before. You can send people gifts, you can create things and put them out there like just hasn't existed in the past. However, you can fall into the trap of basically putting a bunch of stuff out there and getting really resentful that nobody is appreciating what you're putting out there, or just not finding the people that want to find what you're putting out there. So how should we think about this? I want to offer some different concepts from people like Seth Godin, Charles Eisenstein, and Maria Popova in terms of how they think about generosity and gift giving. Seth Godin thinks about the gift as the foundation of our modern economy, and he also calls the modern economy the connection economy. With the internet, like he says, it's lowered the marginal cost of generosity to basically zero. Seth Godin's email, for example, is public. You can send him anything, and he might respond and really appreciate what you have to send him. However, we need to really understand what generosity is. Like he says here, it's not just giving a discount or giving away things for free. It's far more complex than that. And I love this example he offers. Generosity creates trust, right? But you also need trust first to provide generosity. And you need to think about how are you going to earn somebody's trust. You don't just want to leave free sandwiches all over the airport. Similarly, you don't just want to blast the internet with your writing, right? You want to find people, hey, I think you might enjoy this piece. I'd love to hear some feedback on it. Would be a better approach than just blasting it out to the world and hoping people respond to it. Charles Eisenstein has written a book called Sacred Economics, where he talks about how can we embrace gift cultures that have existed in many different societies around the world. And he talks about the gift in that it's not just about giving, it's about the connection that results from a gift that is received in a genuine way. Gifts bind us. For even though gifts do not come with a specific expectation of return, nonetheless, they ordinarily happen within the view of the community. It's all about finding the people that do appreciate what you have to give, and that can be a hard challenge, and we'll talk about community and finding your tribe in other modules. Default mode with creators, and this can be hard to avoid, is I need to maximize my opportunity, right? I need to get the most clicks. I need to find the most customers. I need to make the most money. However, in generosity mode, it's shifting to who can I help without that expectation of return. Hopefully you do find people that do want to return the favor and help you succeed, but without offering genuinely, you're going to struggle to build those connections. Back to Seth Godin, he thinks that the gift mindset can also help you overcome that resistance, right? If you are creating and you have expectation that it needs to be widely seen, universally praised, accepted, make money from it, it may hold you back from even getting started. So then the challenge in today's world is how do you balance giving for the sake of giving with gifts that are actually appreciated and reciprocated by others? There's no perfect formula for this, but it's something you want to be aware of and reflect on and say to yourself, is this too far out of balance? Chip Conley, founder of Joie de Vivre Hotels, says being a giver is not good for a 100-yard dash, but it's valuable in a marathon. And this is the trade-off a lot of people make accidentally, is that it's easy to see the 100-yard goal, but it's hard to see what the journey is over a marathon. But if you're going to sustain a journey off the default path, embracing this marathon mindset is pivotal. Maria Popova, who writes generously herself and has thousands of free posts unearthing wisdom from literature, poetry, history, and the modern age, reflects on what makes a human great. And I love her answer: curiosity without ego and generosity of spirit. No amount of talent is worth anything without kindness.